in class. As many of you know, I love teaching again. It's my heart and soul to be here to share an hour of space. So we'll go probably for about 5 minutes over. For those who are used to my classes here, probably know that I go 5 or 10 minutes over anyway with the class. Now, I want to just share an experience today actually, and I've bought my favourite book at the moment, The Art of Happiness by the Dalai Lama. I actually felt like I was going to cry this afternoon, and I want to share this because it kind of really correlates with the word compassion. And I wanted to talk on compassion today because that is our natural state as a human being. Compassion and love is it's our innate nature. Today I was down at Bar Beach and it was just stunning. Like, it was really stunning down there. The water was just crystal clear. There's people everywhere. It felt really great, like humans interacting again, and there was just this sense of like just this, I don't know, there's a wholesomeness about it, you know. And I was listening to Gabby Bernstein actually, I was lying down and I just kept hearing like laughter, and I felt, you know, it wasn't just one sort of group of people, it was others and whatnot. And I kind of rolled over and there was a gentleman, he might have been like 50 or so, a larger guy sitting on the beach drinking like a stubby of VB. I was like, oh, this doesn't look right. He was also in his undies as well. He was in his tradie undies. Nothing wrong with that. I swim in my undies as well sometimes. But on a packed beach, it just didn't look right. And anyway, these girls next to me, younger girls, were just like starting to piss themselves laughing. And there was other people around that were also carrying on. And because he was starting to get up and stumble his way down to the water. And there was people everywhere. And I just observed for a little bit. And, you know, not one person went out of their way to offer help or to check in with the guy. You know, when he was on the beach drinking, he didn't look happy. He clearly looked upset or sad, and he was absolutely trashed. And anyway, I walked up to the lifeguards, and because you'd need 2 people to sort of move him back. And I just said, look, that guy down there needs help. Have you got any water? Can you like bring someone down? And just move him out of the way. If he trips on rocks or falls in the water, like, he's going to be in a bit of danger himself. But the whole time, even when I was at the lifeguard office, not one person, it was surrounded by people. And as I said, it's made me so, I just looked at humanity and I'm like, what have we learned? What have we learnt as humans in a time where we have been forced to pause by Mother Nature? We have been like forced to stop. We have been forced to check in with ourselves, to come back to compassion. And it was nowhere to be seen, nowhere. And it just breaks my heart. I'm sorry, it's so close to my heart, this kind of stuff. Because as humans, we are so far from being a human at the moment, it's not funny. And I want to remind us, it's up to us. It is up to us to start to be kind to ourselves and others. It is, yes, there's a lot of noise going on around at the moment, but when one person practices kindness or we start to practice it to ourselves, it's a knock-on effect. And it's just so important that compassion feels good in our body, love feels good in our body, kindness feels good in our bodies. And by us being compassionate or kind to ourselves or others, we give permission for another person to do the same. So with that, I want to bring in some compassion into our practice today. We're going to start with our heart open, lying down in Reclined Butterfly Pose. So I'm going to lie my bolster long ways today, and we're going to come down to our backs. We're going to draw the soles of our feet together. I'm just going to be sharing some context from this book today. Those of you that are on here are very aware of your yin yoga practice, so I won't be guiding too much into the pose or the technicalities of the pose. I'm just going to let you come down. So let's just find a space where we can actually feel the heart space crack open. Feel the shoulder blades melt down the back. Feel the back of the skull be supported by the cushion or the bolster or whatever it is you have. And I want you to actually just breathe into your body what compassion feels like for you. And so let your whole body start to surrender. You know, just like building a muscle in the gym, compassion is the same. And what we practice grows stronger. And it really, really is important to be the observer of ourselves in every single moment of every single day, to tune into our actions, our behaviors, our words and our thoughts, and ask ourselves the question, is that lifting myself up and others? Because we ultimately want to be in a state of feeling good, right? We are going to have negative experiences, we are going to have shitty experiences, we are going to have challenging experiences, and we are going to have amazing ones. But it's all meant to be experienced. But it's just coming into this state of holding compassion for ourselves and others when times are not so great. So in this first pose, I want you to cultivate in every single cell of your body what compassion actually feels like in your body. And do that with your breath. So as you breathe in, I want you to breathe in an expansion of love, an expansion of greatness, and an expansion of compassion. And as you exhale, let go of tension, let go of rigidity, let go of judgment. You know, they say that when we judge another, we are saying more about ourselves than we are about the person we are judging. Settle yourself in for another 2 to 3 minutes here. The Dalai Lama states, the ability to shift perspective can be one of the most powerful and effective tools we have to help us cope with life's daily problems. The ability to look at events, people, ourselves from different perspectives can be very helpful. Then practicing this, one can use certain experiences, people, ourselves, certain tragedies or trauma to develop a calmness of mind. Take another 8 to 10 breaths in this shape. Take a breath in. And an open mouth exhale. Gently invite your knees back into your hands and just pause. Might be nice here to let your knees just flop to the left, and you can either come straight up to seated or your hands and knees, or you can pause for a moment. I'll leave that up to you. I'm just going to come over in your time to a tabletop position. And we're just going to just move the body a little bit, so just flushing out any energy. It was interesting actually, I found that when I was walking back from the beach, as I said, I felt really quite teary-eyed, like I felt really emotional. And I noticed when I got in my car, my body was really tense, my shoulders were up around my ears, my hands were even a bit clenched. I felt a tightness in my stomach and my face was like squeezed. And I realised that I was holding on to that moment, you know, I felt angry, I felt sad and I felt emotional about it, but I also didn't need to hold it in my body. So again, when things happen in and around us, be aware of the tension we can hold without being aware. I had no idea that I was holding that tension until I sat in my car. And things happen around us, of course, but it is really up to us how long we choose to hold on to it for and how we store it or hold it in our bodies as well. So a really nice space right now just to flush out through the spine, check in if there is anywhere we are holding tension. So we're actually going to slowly come up to stand. We're actually going to come to a dangling pose. Now, I like to use bolster and blocks, depending on how tight your hamstrings are. So if you do need to use a block or 2 or 3, please do. This dangling pose is done with straight legs. So my yin teacher, Truth Robinson, always teaches this pose with straight legs. So we need to support ourselves as much as possible for that to happen. You can still let your head dangle, but use the blocks to support you, okay? So we're going to come into a straight leg dangle. So getting into the backs, the posterior chain, the hamstrings. And of course, if it suits you, you can bend your elbows and fold down more using whatever props you've got here. If you need to put a tiny soft knee bend in the knees, do so, but we want to really keep the legs as straight as possible in this pose. Now, of course, if you need a variation, or if I have anybody who's pregnant on this class, then legs up the wall is most certainly okay as well. So we're just going to drop our heads, drop into the pose wherever that lands for you. And I want you to really just let go. So just starting to come into your breath. Really important now, just giving yourself this hour to pause, to be still, to come back to being present. So if you notice yourself shifting backward to things that have happened in your day or things that happened last week, or of course if you find yourself moving forward, then I really invite you to come back to here. You know, in yoga, and I actually have it on my wrist because it means so much to me. Because for me, compassion was something I never had for myself. And in yoga, the description of compassion as such, ahimsa, is non-violence to the self and to others. The Dalai Lama continues to say that compassion can be roughly defined in terms of a state of mind that is non-violent, non-harming, and non-aggressive. It is a mental attitude based on the wish for others to be free of their suffering, and is associated with a sense of commitment, responsibility, and respect towards the other. He also states that in discussing the definition of compassion, the Tibetan word suwa, there is also a sense to the word of it being a state of mind that can include a wish for good things for oneself. In developing compassion, perhaps one could begin with the wish that oneself be free of suffering, and then take that natural feeling towards oneself and cultivate it, practice it, enhance it, and extend it out to include and embrace others. Not one of us knows what another person is going through, ever, especially now. You know, whatever this gentleman was going through today clearly wasn't in, the right state of mind. People's actions, people's behaviors, people's words are nothing to do with us. So the best thing that we can do is focus on ourselves, of being the light that we wish to see in the world reflected out to us. At the end of the day, everything is infinite energy, and on a bigger scale, to heal the world, it starts with us, with me, with you. Our permission or our choice to be kind literally reflects onto another person, and they reflect it onto another. When that's our energy, it starts to create love and kindness on a bigger scale. I'm going to take 5 more breaths here, everyone. So just letting go. Notice if there's been any space opened up for you. Alright, taking one more breath in, and a breath out. Wriggle your feet out wider, and if you need to, slide the bolster underneath your glutes and do so as we start to come down to a squat. Now, you can either just rest your hands on the bolster like this, or you can actually rest your head in your hands. If you need to shock up your heels with a blanket or with something, then feel free to do so. I'm going to stay pretty upright in my spine, and I'm going to just bring the palms together. So it actually stretches out the wrists as well, but please choose the squat variation that works for you. I'm just going to be here for about 3 minutes now, finding a long spine and separating each of the vertebrae. I bang on about this often. I actually put a little video on my Instagram yesterday, I don't know if anybody saw it, about ways in which we can find a minute of squatting in our day. So Ido Portal says we should squat for 5 minutes a day and hang for 2, so that we are decompressing our spine. So yeah, I got like the dustpan and brush out yesterday and just moved through a squat pattern on the floor for a minute. I was cooked. But find ways, there's plenty of ways where we can incorporate this into our lives. Rather than sitting in a chair, just give back to yourself. Again, it really does, embrace that sense of compassion. And compassion involves things with our physical self, being kind to ourselves, treating our bodies with love and care, doing the things that keep us well and our nervous systems regulated. Everything is our choice. What we put in our bodies, what we do with our bodies, how we feed it, how we move, how we talk to ourselves. You know, that's why this ahimsa on non-violence to self and others is the very, very first limb of yoga. It's not the aesthetic, the poses, the posture. It's kindness. So we have 10 more breaths here, guys, 2 more minutes. Genuine compassion is based on the rationale that all human beings have an innate desire to be happy and to overcome suffering just like myself. And just like myself, they have the natural right to fulfill this fundamental aspiration. On the basis of the recognition of this equality and commonality, you develop a sense of affinity and closeness with others. With this as a foundation, you can feel compassion regardless of whether you view the other person as a friend or an enemy. It is based on the other's fundamental rights rather than your own mental projection. Upon this basis, then, you will generate love and compassion. The Dalai Lama states, that is genuine compassion. Take 3 more breaths here. Take 1 more full breath in, and exhale, release. Find your way down to your back, and we're going to come into a mini Shavasana. So if your bolster is in front of you, you're welcome to place the soles of your feet on the bolster. Keep the knees wide. That can actually be a really nice place after a squat, or just lying down. I invite you to place one hand on your belly and one hand on your heart. Just notice how you feel. Take 5 breaths here. Take a breath in and a breath out. So you can either use your bolster or your block. That's going to be up to you. We're going to come into bridge pose. I'm going to use a block today. Completely up to you what feels good in your body. If you are using the bolster, you likely just slide the bolster underneath the sacrum. If you're using a block, either the lower or the medium height, rest it on that flat part of the sacrum. Should feel pretty comfortable. And then just allow yourself to come into supported bridge pose. So just spending about the first minute here, just tuning into how everything feels in this pose. Now for some of you, of course, you may like to extend the legs, but maybe just wait a couple more breaths. Just letting the spine settle. I'm going to invite the arms to come up to like goalpost arms so that your heart space remains open. And again, just come back to cultivating that feeling of compassion, like you are nurturing like a small puppy or a small child. you know, how would that feel? You're offering them love, you're offering them compassion in a state where they are unsure or they are unfamiliar. How would you look after them? I invite you to really generate that feeling in every single cell, and then let yourself receive it. Let your whole body soften with it. Notice that when you experience true compassion, how soft and open and receiving the body feels. Our autonomic nervous system in this state is receptive, it is regulated, and we are well. We are able to stay present, to make clear and conscious decisions, and we are able to choose our words, our dialogue, our behaviours and our actions in the moment. They say that when our heart is open, we have the ability to receive. You know, it's funny, the ebook I was listening to today is Gabby Bernstein's latest book. And she was just literally at the part where she mentioned she was having or sharing a conversation with Glennon Doyle, who is the author of Untamed. And Glennon and Gabby Bernstein were discussing on a big scale what's actually happening with humans at the moment. For years and years and years, Glennon continued to say that our lives are very much like a snow globe. We're always shuffling, we're always moving, we're always shaking. Whether it be work, whether it be shopping, whether it be catching up with friends, whether it be numbing with going to the gym or drinking wine or smoking cigarettes. Whatever it is, we've always had an opportunity to continue to shake. Things get difficult around us and we have so many numbing devices that we just hover above the things we don't want to feel or experience. So what's happening on a large scale is that the snow is starting to settle. We are forced to be quiet, and we are forced to sit with ourselves in our true and our natural state. And if we are not comfortable with that, if we find we are in a sense of judgment with ourselves or comparison or a feeling of not enough with ourselves, we find that our actions, our words, our behaviours, our choices can be that or operating out of autopilot. People do things around us that we judge or we think that it isn't right. But at the end of the day, if we don't have the tools to move through this time of sitting with ourselves and giving ourselves permission to feel the things we have pushed down for so many years, then it's going to come out as messy. It's going to come out as, different. It's going to come out as uncomfortable. And this is where we as a society can be so judgmental or critical of another without actually knowing what's underneath the pain. Every single one of us goes through suffering. Every single one of us experiences pain. But every single one of us is human and has the ability to offer love and compassion at that deeper, more human level. Every single one of us has that choice. We're going to spend another 10 breaths here. So again, completely up to you where you'd like to be. If it's, in your practice, the legs can extend, or maybe they already were. Your back will tell you what feels good for you in this space. You know, there's that old saying of whatever unfolds in front of us in this moment, we always have a choice whether we choose to react or respond. Experience 3 more beautiful breaths here. Breathe in, exhale. Really, really slowly, if your legs are extended, please take the time to rebend the knees and just pause. We're going to marry this straight into our next pose, so please bring your block down to the lowest height. If you are on your bolster, then you can stay there. We're going to get right into the psoas, so extending the left leg long, so the left heel, calcaneus, is really nice and heavy. And we're going to just lightly hold on to our right shin. Let me try that again. I can't speak. I'm not trying to pull the right knee into the chest, I'm just holding on to it. The area that we are working is the connective tissue and fascia into the psoas and the hip flexors of the extended leg. So I want you to think of your left leg like concrete. So the femur bone is like really, really heavy here. And we're just here for 3 minutes on each side. This is one of the most magical shapes if you are finding that you're sitting a lot, which I most certainly am with the stuff with the book at the moment. I've really had to change things up a lot more for myself, of trying to make sure my shoulders are remaining open and my hips are open because of the sitting. So I've been sitting on the floor or a bolster with a low table or seat. The guys at the Foot Collective share some really, really good stuff on that as well. To actually bring your desk down to the ground, more like a Japanese style, if that makes sense, so that the legs are crossed and open. There's many ways that you can sit, but just really have a think about how we are spending our hours in our day and what effect that might be having on our bodies as well. If you can let that left leg get any heavier, please do so. Taking 5 more breaths in this shape, everyone. Breathe in, breathe out. From here, it might be nice to lift the other knee up and just let the legs just hover like this for a little while. Just feeling the weight of the shins, the ankles. It's just a nice place to pause. And then let's just move to the other side. So just 3 minutes here. Holding onto the left shin and just extending the right out long and really feeling that weight of the femur bone on the right and the ankle, the heel. Let everything melt on that right leg, and we're not actively pulling this left knee into the chest and just holding it so that I can just be, but relax any muscular tension here, just let go. You know, under everything, under any labels that we may carry or things we hold on ourselves, any differences that we feel we are to any other humans, it is all irrelevant. You know, the Dalai Lama again says that if we base our happiness on what we look like, on what we own, on how much money we have in our bank account, what suburb we live in, what colour our skin is, he said, we could lose that all in an instant, and we can. He says true happiness and content must come from within. And at the end of the day, I am no different to you, you are no different to me. The gentleman on the beach was no different to any one of us. As what the Dalai Lama says, humans at the end of the day, we all have a longing desire to be happy, and we all share a longing desire to not suffer. And when we can see each other in that light, despite our differences or views or opinions or values or beliefs, we come back to being human again, and humans supporting humans. Kind, compassionate, understanding. Again, if we are in a space where we feel triggered by another human or what I experienced today, the ability to break down another human being or to laugh at another human being's expense really shows us that there is work underneath to be done for ourselves. And I'm, same thing, not exempt to this. I've been known to 100% judge other humans. I judge continuously. I'm also a human being and we do judge. But it's about not judging our judgment, using our judgment as a teacher. Okay, why do I feel the need to judge? Is there something underneath that I need to look into to do the work for myself? And that is key. When things show up for us, use our triggers as our teachers. Take one more breath in, and one more breath out. So we are just slowly going to bring both knees in, and just as a counter pose here, just extending the legs up. This should feel ridiculously amazing. So if you need to adjust the block a little bit for this to happen, please do so. But the feet should just float up here. And we're just going to spend about a minute here, just literally swimming in the goodness of this feeling. Take one more breath in, and a breath out. Just one at a time, let the heels come back to the bum. To come out of this, please take your time being in a little bit of lying down position for a while, so you're going to feel a fair bit of blood to the head. So So very, very gently push into the heels and remove the block and just turn onto your side. And just take a moment to pause here in a fetal position. There's no rush, but eventually we're going to come up and we're going to come into our shoelace pose. So a really nice rinse for the hips, and it's pretty normal if you just felt a little bit of a head spin just then. Because we were on our backs for quite a while, what happens is the blood, of course, goes through all the internal organs, into the head, into the brain, and we can feel a little bit lightheaded. So just take your time. So coming to shoelace, shoelace or square pose. I'm going to give you guys the option today. So if square pose or shoelace is not for you, you're just going to bring your left shin in front, all right? You can sit on a blanket or a cushion, but square pose is a really nice one, just to create that space into the hips. But if you feel you want shoelace, feel free to go there. But again, the cross-legged version, more than okay. So with square pose, we're actually going to bring the left heel up on top of the right quad, and you'll notice that that left knee may lift up. That's totally okay, so long as both of the sit bones are on the ground. Now again, if that is not for you today, what you're going to be working with is just that left leg in front. Now you can bring your bolster in front of you because we're going to fold forward into this pose. So just finding that space where you can find a position where it is, I don't want to say comfortable because it's not comfortable, but you can stay and take a big deep breath in, and as you exhale, we're going to fold forward. So either using your hands or allowing yourself to come down to an object, a bolster or a pillow, it doesn't matter, but we're trying to get a really nice external rotation into the hips. I really love this conversation from the author and Dalai Lama. The author says, "Love or compassion is a subjective feeling. It seems that the emotional tone or feeling of love or compassion would be the same, whether it was tingled with attachment or genuine. So if the person would experience the same emotional feeling in both types, why is it important to distinguish between love and compassion?" With a decisive tone, the Dalai Lama answered, "First, I think that there is a different quality between the feeling of genuine love or compassion and love based on attachment. It's not the same feeling. The feeling of genuine compassion is much stronger, much wider. It has a very profound quality. Also, genuine love and compassion are much more stable, more reliable. For example, if you see an animal intensely suffering like a fish writhing in a hook in its mouth, you might spontaneously experience a feeling of not being able to bear its pain. That feeling isn't based on a special connection with that particular animal, a feeling of, oh, that animal is my friend. In that case, you're basing your compassion simply on the fact that that being also has feeling. That being can experience pain and has a right to not experience such pain. So that type of compassion, not mixed with the desire or attachment, is much more sound and more durable in the long run." Take 3 more breaths here, everyone. Take one more breath in. And a breath out. Slowly start to come up. Beautiful. And from this position, we're going to come into a twist. So you can keep your legs as is, or just bring the left leg in front. We're going to bring the right hand over to the left knee, and then keeping the spine long, we're going to start to turn and twist and look over our left shoulder. Three more deep breaths here. When you are done, slowly, just starting to make your way out, I like to lean back to come out of this pose. We're going to bring the feet in front of us and bring the hands behind. And really, really slowly, just starting to let the knees fall to one direction and the head goes to the other, and then bring it up on the inhale and then exhale over. Now again, when we move into this other side, please note that you can just come to a seated position. You don't have to stack the right foot onto the left quad. You can stay seated, or if you prefer shoelace, you know that, feel free to go there. So noticing there's quite a difference into the hips, definitely mine today, and that's pretty normal to feel that. But just again, the most important thing is to not come into any pain, so find where you need to be here. And then taking an inhale, use your exhale to gently fold forward. The author continues. Moving deeper into the subject of compassion, I continue to ask, now in your example of seeing a fish intensely suffering with a hook in its mouth, you bring up a vital point, that it is associated with a feeling of not being able to bear its pain. Yes, said the Dalai Lama. In fact, in one sense, one could define compassion as the feeling of unbearableness at the sight of other people suffering, other sentient beings suffering. And in order to generate that feeling, one must first have an appreciation of the seriousness or intensity of another's suffering. So I think that the more fully one understands suffering and the various kinds of suffering that we are all subject to, the deeper will be one's level of compassion. I raise the question, well, I appreciate the fact that greater awareness of others' suffering can enhance our capacity for compassion. In fact, by definition, compassion involves opening oneself to another's suffering, sharing another's suffering. But there's a more basic question. Why would we want to take on another's suffering when we don't even want our own? I mean, most of us go to great lengths to avoid our own pain and suffering, even to the point of taking drugs or drinking and so on. Why would we then deliberately take on someone else's suffering? Without hesitation, the Dalai Lama responded, I feel that there is a significant difference between your own suffering and the suffering you might experience in a compassionate state, in which you take upon yourself and share other people's suffering. A qualitative difference. He paused. And then, as if effortlessly targeting my own feelings in the moment, he continued. When you think about your own suffering, there is a feeling of being totally overwhelmed. There is a sense of being burdened, of being pressed under something, a feeling of helplessness. There is a dullness, almost as if your faculties have become numb. Take one more breath in. Stay for the exhale. slowly start to come up, and we're going to find that twist. So gently, with a long spine, bring your left hand to the outside of your right knee and turn, twist, and take 5 breaths. The Dalai Lama continues, now, in generating compassion, when you are taking on another's suffering, you may also initially experience a certain degree of discomfort, a sense of uncomfortableness or unbearableness. But in the case of compassion, the feeling is very much different. Underlying the uncomfortable feeling is a very high level of alertness and determination, because you are voluntarily and deliberately accepting another's suffering for a higher purpose. There is a feeling of connectedness and commitment, a willingness to reach out to others, a feeling of freshness rather than dullness, a sense of being kind. Take one more breath in. As you exhale, come back to the center. I'm going to invite you guys to come down for a Shavasana, and I'm going to share a meditation that has popped into my head. It is a Buddhism metta meditation on loving kindness that I haven't shared for a long time. And as I was speaking on this stuff, it popped into my head. It's a meditation I used to do at Alicia Wellness Retreat. And I invite you now for the next 7 or 8 minutes to come to a position where you can lie down and surrender onto the ground. Close down your eyes. As we finish this yin yoga class with this beautiful meditation, an opportunity to offer love and compassion, not just to ourselves, but to others. So gently start to shut down your eyes. Let your body become rested on the earth beneath you. Let every single bone in your body relax and be still. Breathe in. Breathe out. This meditation is a loving kindness meditation. It's a beautiful meditation to do when we feel we need love or compassion for ourselves, or we feel we are holding resentment or judgment onto another. Take a moment to notice your heart space. Notice a sense of warmth. Take a moment to acknowledge your basic goodness. Who you are at your natural state, without any labels, without any limitations. Just you as a genuine human being. Take a moment to appreciate who you are without the need for more. To acknowledge your authenticity. To lean into your highest and most basic goodness of self. To embrace the imperfections. To feel love. All you need to do is repeat these words to yourself after I mention them. Feel it in your heart, feel it in your body, and feel it in your soul. I give myself permission to receive love and kindness. I give myself permission to feel happy. I give myself permission to accept myself as I am. And I give myself permission to be at peace. Gently bring to mind now somebody you love dearly, someone who is close to you, someone who makes you smile. Visualize this person standing in front of you. Again, all you need to do is repeat these words to yourself. And feel this energy vibrate out to this person. I wish for you to feel love and kindness. I wish for you to be happy. I wish for you to accept yourself as you are. I wish for you to be at peace. Notice this person receiving this from you. Gently and compassionately now bring to someone to mind with whom you've had a difficult relationship. Someone that you find it hard to have compassion for. Gently visualize this person standing in front of you to receive your wish of loving kindness. I hope that you experience loving kindness. I hope that you experience happiness. I hope that you learn to love yourself as you are. I hope for you to find peace. Visualize them receiving this from you now. Draw your energy and attention now to outside the room you're in, to outside of the suburb you live in, to outside of the state and the country, to now include all living beings, nature and the world. Visualize all of this in front of you as you gently offer your wish of love and kindness to the world. My wish is for us all to receive love and kindness. My wish is for us all to be happy. My wish is for us all to accept ourselves as we are. And my wish for us all is to find peace. Breathe in. Breathe out. And stay with this visualization for the next 5 to 6 breaths. Breathe in and expand into a bubble of compassion and love and gratitude. Breathe out, let go of any tension. Take a moment to notice how you can spread this energy to another this afternoon, tomorrow, or next week. Notice how that feels. If you're on your back, slowly wriggle your toes, your fingers. Might be really nice to take a few deep, long breaths here. Gently just roll to your side and pause. Do the things that are kind to you. Eat food that makes you feel like a big warm hug. Spend time with those who light you up. Move your body. Sweat. Play. Be still. Meditate. Breathe. Have sex. Give yourself permission to pause. It is when we are silent we are able to hear. Gently come up to seated. Take a moment to place your hands on your heart. Notice what compassion feels like in your physical self. Gently bring the thumbs to the third eye, just honouring yourself, your practice this time to give back to yourself. From my heart to yours. Namaste. Thanks everyone. I hope you're feeling good after that. Again, those teachings were from the Dalai Lama, The Art of Happiness. Really, really great book for now. Just to remind us that compassion feels just freaking good. And the more we practice it, the easier it becomes. Have yourself the most amazing day, everyone. I really appreciate you taking the time out. Thank you.